Hari Om. Human life, is there a purpose? One of the nice ways of trying to appreciate the term human is when we think of humanity. I don't know if any of you guys ever remember, it was just like famous footage of the Hindenburg? They tried to have, like, just prior to the beginning of the Second World War, they were trying to look for good ways of air travel, and they built this huge hydrogen-filled balloon, and it had a whole bunch of people in cabins underneath it, and they flew across the Atlantic Ocean, and there was some electrical discharge or something when they were bringing it in to tether it to this post in America. And because it was filled with hydrogen, which is highly flammable and explosive, when there was this electrical discharge, it just burst into flames. And there is a reporter, he was recording this monumentous event, this air travel across the Atlantic. And then it bursts into flames and people are just being consumed by the fire. And he's practically crying. And he goes, "Oh, the humanity." And that always struck me. I heard that when I was a kid, when I first saw it. And it's very touching when we think in terms of humanity when it is used this way. All too often we have this tendency, just people in general, to form into groups and develop different types of group identity. And we see some as being supportive of our ideas and some being politically or philosophically different, and it sets up for conflict. And when we come into conflict, it's kind of like we lose our empathy and the softness of heart towards others. And that is actually incredibly horrific. Because when a person goes down that, if you can feel anger and hatred towards someone, if they can really irritate you just because they have a different political or social philosophy or a different religious idea, we are very far from our very innocent and original condition that is part of the human condition. Like very young children. Young children are incredibly distressed when they see somebody suffering in any way, shape, or form. But as we become hardened and conditioned by material life, we tend to become not just tolerant, we become supportive of the idea of inflicting pain upon others if they disagree with us. When we start going, if this is the product of our life, if this is the outcome, if this is where we're going in life, we are going in a very bad direction. Even if you feel that I've adopted a compassionate outlook and this other person is not as compassionate as me, therefore I can hate them. It's like, what? Did you hear what you just said or what you were thinking? That's like crazy land, that we've become so detached from, the reality of the humanity and the ability to feel a softness of heart towards others. Human life, for me, there is this necessity to break it into two components. From the spiritual perspective, life does not come from your body. Your body, or any combination of chemicals or atomic particles, can never produce life. Life is a very sacred and special thing. It is a spiritual principle. It is a symptom of the existence of that which is spiritual. It is the spirit that gives life to the body. Its characteristic is life. And when it inhabits a body, the body manifests life. When that spiritual core being leaves, the body no longer exhibits life. It is dead. If we understand that life is always spiritual in origin, this is like, whoa, this is like life-changing. The reason I'm talking about life like this is because there are so many other forms of life. It's not like human bodies have a monopoly on life. All around you, life exists in a myriad of different bodies. Animals manifest life. Plants manifest life. Amongst all of the life forms, human beings are unique and special. It is not the life itself that is unique and special. The human body is unique and special. It is only when life inhabits a human body that one can ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? Is there a purpose to my existence? Because human beings have this capacity, whereas other living beings do not. They don't have that capacity. We were taught in the ancient Vedic scriptures, the yoga teachings, that the real purpose of life is to discover the truth of who I actually am. I mean, even way back thousands of years ago, there was this really profound understanding that the body is constantly subject to change. You look at a photograph of when you were a baby, and if I ask the question, where is that body? You say, oh, this is still the same body. No, it's not. It's not. Actually, in less than 5 years, every single atomic particle in your body is replaced. Your body is constantly changing. Constantly changing. And this amazing reality is your identity, your sense of who you are, I, remains constant and the same. There is no scientific basis to assume that there is any, you can equate one's identity or idea that I exist with the body. Scientists will tell you this. It's a scientific reality. And yet, all of humanity, well, maybe not all, that might be a bit bold, let's say 99.999% of humanity is utterly absorbed in this idea that the body that I am currently wearing is me. And so I adopt the idea that I am male or I am female, I am of a particular ethnic extraction or nationality. I identify with so many group labels, all based on things that are simply stuck onto, attached to this body. And none of this tells me who I am. Not in reality. And I spend my entire life searching, looking for happiness, looking for love, looking for this protection, this idea of home, this safe space. My whole life. And I don't find it. And we're just like we're not thoughtful about it. I mean, if I consider in my own life, if I look at those that I actually know, not that I fantasize about or dream about, or somebody's profile on Facebook or some movie star, people that you actually know, most people, their life is pretty miserable. Or not. People are not walking around laughing hysterically and just jumping around and filled with joyfulness. It's a hard grind. It's a hard grind. Occasionally, poof, whoa, I get a little flash and then it's just back to the hard grind. And I struggle so hard for youthfulness, and my body's just like, oh my God, it's not, it's just aging. It's just aging. My organs are tiring and getting wiped out, and the systems in my body are slowly collapsing little bit by little bit. It's just like, and then I'm just trying so hard to maintain the look. Searching and searching. We spend our life searching for that which is eternal, and we do it in a world that is temporary and constantly changing. And so I feel agitated. I get sold the idea that if I stimulate my body and mind in different ways, different experiences, I will find happiness. The reality is I may experience different sensations and what I categorize as material pleasure, but that pleasure is extremely temporary. It is simply fleeting and passing. It never, under any circumstances, utterly fulfills me. The purpose of human life is to be able to reflect upon that and ask the question, who am I? What is this life about? What is it for? To actually seek answers. It is only when we seek answers that there is any possibility of uncovering our true spiritual identity, who I actually am, to be totally in touch with my spiritual being, where it now becomes possible for me to act in a way where I can really experience fulfillment. I can experience true happiness. You know, my daughter sent me this clip of this guy. What's his name? Russell somebody Brand. I put it up on Facebook. It's hilarious. I thought it was really quite instructive. This guy, he went through a life of incredible addiction. Alcohol, cocaine, heroin. He's a movie star guy, and you know, he was just like going to all these orgies, having all of these sexual experiences. He was just like blowing money. He was doing all of this stuff. And he said he absolutely destroyed his body. And he went into such a deep, dark place. He had to go into a rehab to try and recover from all the horrific things he was doing to his body. And he said he came to understand that when I do these things, like when I take drugs, when I drink, when I engage in these activities, yes, I can experience pleasure of different types. But pleasure and happiness are not the same thing. You can stimulate yourself over and over and over and never find fulfillment and true happiness. That requires going in another direction. This idea that a human form of life serves the purpose of actual self-realization, to realize who I am. This is not just a theoretical idea or some wonky spiritual, peace and love, I don't know what trip. No, this is a very real search to find that which will utterly fulfill me, to find and experience, to bathe in the happiness that I really seek, to taste what it really means to love. You know, all these relationships people have, that's not love. Not really. We feel some affection, we get attachment, we like to exploit each other for different things, for money or protection or sexual experience or different. We do all these things, but they don't fulfill us. They don't allow us to really taste and experience actual love. We have some idea that love is real, but I'm not really finding it in my life. And I coin all of these cute things. Oh, love is never having to say you're sorry. Well, it's nice. If you behave so nicely towards each other, you never have to apologize. That's wonderful. I do agree. But that is not actually love. That is not actually love. Human life, is there a purpose? Yes, the purpose is not all the things that I am doing. Human life, its purpose is to really find myself and to regain what is mine, my right to exist in a state of spiritual fulfillment and satisfaction and great happiness, and to experience what love actually is. How about that? Can you relate or not? It's a real thing. this spiritual journey, it's a practical thing. It's a down-to-earth thing. It's not some flaky, fluffy, spacey idea. The surest way of coming to realize your spiritual identity and to give you a taste for that which you truly desire in your heart of hearts is through this meditative process of meditating upon these spiritual or transcendental sounds, this mantra meditation. When one is able to receive this sound in a authentic and potent spiritual lineage, one is able to actually begin to experience an effect that is transformative and begins to act upon us. And the small tastes we may have in the beginning become increasingly more wonderful. Our realizations of who we actually are start becoming deeper and more profound. And in the end, the way in which we look upon this world, the way in which we look upon ourselves, the way in which we look upon others, all becomes utterly transformed. You have a new vision, a new way of seeing everything, a new understanding of everything. Okay, anybody have a question? Pretty heavy proposition. So we will chant some of this spiritual sound, because by doing this we get to fulfill the actual purpose of human life, human existence. Thank you very much. We'll sing something a little different. The great ancient sage who compiled the Vedas, which are the oldest and most incredibly wonderful spiritual texts on the planet, he was a great sage known as Vyasadeva. And after compiling vast amounts of spiritual writing, previously these teachings were all part of an oral tradition. And seeing that 5,000 years ago we were entering a period of time that was considered most unfortunate, which we are still experiencing. This is called the age of quarrel and confusion. Everybody is confused about what they should be doing, and they quarrel over anything and everything. After compiling this vast ocean of spiritual texts, he felt there was a need to distill everything down into one final teaching. This work was called the Bhagavad Purana. The Bhagavad Purana, he said, was his personal commentary on the highest point of spiritual knowledge known as the Brahma Sutra or the Vedanta Sutra. This Bhagavat Purana is Vyasadev's own commentary, and he begins with a mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This Om is the transcendental pranab. It is the highest spiritual truth. Namo means to offer deep respects. Bhagavat means the supreme absolute truth, who is known as Vasudeva. So this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, is one of the most ancient and potent of spiritual mantras. So we will sing this, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then what we normally chant, Om Hari Om.